Hi, welcome to Antiques Down Under, our television program on antiques and collectibles.
We're searching for incredible collections, priceless rarities and curious artefacts. And along the way, we'll meet some people with the most unbelievable treasures.
This time on Antiques Down Under, Claudia discovers a farmhouse full of treasures.
We tune in to Bakelite radios.
A penny for your thoughts. I tracked down a rare Australian coin.
And Gregory discovers a bottler of a collection.
You know, everyone's got memories. It might be, say, Granddad's watch or the hanky your grandmother had on her wedding day. But what about an entire cottage devoted to one family's memories? I'm with Di, and Di, this cottage is full of your memories. Let's go inside and have a look. Diane, this cottage contains the entire history of the Wicks family, and it starts with Henry Wicks, who's your great-grandfather. Tell me about Henry.
Yes. Henry was a nurseryman in Cornwall, and he got a job as a sailor to come out to Australia. He came on the Sabran to Sydney, and then he came from Sydney to Adelaide. And when he arrived in Adelaide, he got a job with a man called Charles Pitt, who had a nursery.
So I'm looking at the photograph here, and this garment is the garment worn by, I presume this is Henry Wicks' wife.
Yes, Emma was actually his second wife. He had previously married her older sister, but she died of consumption, and Emma nursed her through her illness, and Henry then married Emma, and we always understood that that dress was her wedding dress.
It's as if the inhabitants just put things down and went out for a cup of tea. What fascinates me is Wizard Wicks. Who's Wizard Wicks?
That was my father.
Oh, yes?
Yes, he liked to do things that nobody else did, so he decided one day that he'd teach himself magic. So he sent to America and bought all the books that he could find on magic, and particularly sleight of hand. He used to sit by the fire palming billiard balls, and he was quite proud of himself that he could finally do 4 billiard balls at once.
That's incredible. Did he have large hands?
No, but he did have quite long fingers.
Prestidigitation.
That's it, yes, absolutely.
Hey, presto. We've got the wand of the magician.
Yes, absolutely. He did have a cape and a top hat. There were lots of amateur hours and concerts. He'd go down and he'd be one of the performers, and yes, he won lots.
The kitchen of the Wicks cottage. Look at all this. OXO cubes. Incredible. So who was living in this house?
We suspect workmen, people that worked for Grandpa, because it got to be quite a large area. There's 120 acres here, and the nursery particularly is very labour intensive.
So you'd have a lot
and
of
so
workers.
we'd need workers to dig and prune and.
Because I'm imagining they're here in the kitchen, they're sitting around in a group, and you've got this fantastic stove here, warming themselves in the chilly nights.
My grandmother could churn out sponges and scones and all sorts of things on a wood stove.
Oh, really?
Yes, we just test the temperature by putting the elbow in, and I think we need another piece of wattle wood, and yeah, perfect sponge every time.
Put your elbow in the oven.
Yes, that's right.
Perfect temperature every time. I'm just a little bit envious about the camera collection in this house. Projectors, cameras from all eras. Your great-grandfather was a real enthusiast, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. This camera here did a lot of footage. He made movies for the government promoting visiting South Australia.
Oh, yes.
He
South Australian tourism.
Absolutely, yes. And he took movies of Balhana Industries, so all the industries that were around in the 1930s are all now recorded on film.
And I see the Morse code machine up there, the crystal set.
The crystal set, yes, that was another one of Dad's interests. During the war, he was a radio operator, and even as a teenager, he would visit houses around the district and repair their radios for them. He used to tap out messages to us at the dining room table,
And you didn't understand what he was saying?
No, I didn't have a clue. ...
dash dash. Nina, I've got a very interesting little object here. What is this?
So I would say it's either a little antique fishing hook of sorts or something to do with sewing, used on a sewing machine.
David, I have a very interesting object here. What is it?
I think I have absolutely no idea. Clearly designed to hang on something and to have something else that hangs on it. Well, that's got quite sharp teeth, hasn't it?
Yes, why would that be, do you think?
Ah, maybe a fishing lure. So when the fish bites onto it, then unfortunately those hooks stick into the fish.
Poor fish. Now, Nancy and Kate, I've got a very curious item here. What is it?
It's spring-loaded. I mean, it's tiny, it's well-made, it's something precious, but it is in the shape of
I think it's an acorn.
an acorn, yeah.
So I think it's got to have some North American roots to it.
But have a little guess. It's a...
I'm going to be completely wrong, but I'm going to say it's a necklace that holds something for like a cigarette or a piece of a pipe or something in the olden days, maybe that you'd have nearby so you didn't have to go looking through your pockets.
Okay,
and just
so-
something little and petite for women, maybe.
Do you want to guess the mystery object? Head to our Facebook and Instagram pages to enter. Today, Antiques Down Under, I'm with Grant Morton, and Grant is a coin dealer, and he's going to talk to us today about collecting coins and what not to do and what to do with your coin collection. Hi Grant, how are you going?
I'm good, thanks Greg. Thanks for coming by to my shop.
Yeah, it's great. Great little shop. I've always looked in the windows.
It is, yeah. We've always got a wide range of different collectibles, that's for sure, yeah.
And what can you tell us about coin collecting?
Look, I think the thing that got me in was that Australia being a relatively young country is that you can buy coins that are 1,500, 2,000 years old for $10 or $20. So I think the historical aspect of it is what got me in. So you can actually go and buy a coin of Julius Caesar or one of the famous 12 emperors and hold it in your hand. And I think what better hobby is there than that?
Most of us start off collecting Australian coins, don't we?
We do,
And
yeah.
we graduate to specialising. You find a lot of dealers are specialising?
Well, they do. I think when you start out, you're not really sure what path to take as far as what you should collect. So you tend to collect what your parents or your grandparents have given you over time, and then you might assemble a date collections of a certain denomination. And then as you progress a bit further, you want to try and get the best possible condition coin that you can for the amount of money that you've got in your pocket.
There's not only just coins, it's banknotes too, isn't it?
Of course,
Banknotes
yeah.
can be very valuable.
Banknotes can. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't know that Australia had denominations up to £1,000 pre-World War II. Right. Now, the £1,000 note was really only used as transfers between banks, but there were £20 and £50 and £100 notes. So that's a lot of money. I mean, our highest denomination now is $100, which is equivalent to £50.
Yes. But fancy having a £1,000 note?
They're
unheard of.
Exactly.
Incredible.
And there's only one or two that have survived, and they're worth, well, the last one that sold was several years ago now for $1 million.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So
Imagine
check.
walking around with a pocket full of them. If you're going to start out collecting, what's the best for a young person to start collecting?
Look, I think these days is that the Royal Australian Mint produce a lot of coins for collectors. Yep. And you'll notice that even in circulation there's a lot of different commemorative coins. Yes. There's a lot of, for example, coloured $2 coins and $1 coins put out for various commemorative events. Yeah. There's the Wiggles, is one. Coin. Yeah, Bradman coins. Yeah. And you can pick up these relatively inexpensive. They're not that expensive if you get them out of change. But the thing to do is to try and get the best condition coin that you can. So if you get a coloured $2 Wiggles coin and then you come across another one, compare both of them, see which is the better one and keep the better one. A lot of dealers sell coins by the kilo. Sounds like going to the grocers. In that kilo of coins there might be 200 or 300 coins from around the world, some duplication, but from countries that a lot of young folk wouldn't have heard of. So it's a good educational exercise as well.
Someone I know who bought a box of pennies, and when he was going through that box of pennies, he found the square penny. I mean, that's just incredible, isn't it?
Unheard of. I mean, the square pennies in 1919, 1920, the world silver price had a huge increase. So the Royal Australian Mint and the government decided that they'd put out coins in nickel. Well, and did these trial coins of square coins, which is an unusual shape for a coin in any case, not many countries do them, and did them in nickel with a kookaburra on them. While they were in the design process, silver crashed and there was no need to put them out.
And then we have our well-known penny.
1930 penny, yeah, the mysterious 30 penny.
Here for us.
I have one there.
Nice.
We know they're rare because they didn't make too many of them. It's estimated it might be as little as 1,000 to 1,500 coins. But no one really knows why in that year did they only mint that amount of coins. You know, there's various speculation that it was the Depression and that they didn't need them for that year. But they're extremely rare. They're worth anywhere from 15,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the condition. Yeah, so Australia's most famous coin, the 1930 penny.
When Peter Sheridan and Jan Hatch met, it was a match made in heaven. Both were avid collectors. For Peter, it was Art Deco radios. For Jan, furniture and decorative arts. And here I am in Art Deco heaven. Peter, thank you for inviting us into your home.
Welcome, Claudia. Yes, you see behind you the fruits of a number of years of collecting, but it probably started very inauspiciously. I was fossicking around in London. I'd always been a bit of a collector, and I found a shop that specialised in plastics, and I knew nothing about plastics. And I found a couple of radios there that I was blown away by the colour and the design. One Australian radio and one American radio. And so I bought these two thinking that this was a sort of one-off purchase. But over the years with eBay and an obsessive nature, it's grown into the collection you see behind you.
Well, it is one of the most comprehensive Bakelite radio collections in the world, isn't it?
Yes, it is probably the best international collection. So I think the real story starts in about 1929 in Germany with the Nora Sonnenblume radio. Sonnenblume means sunflower. You can see that in the design. And this was the first Bakelite tabletop radio, as completely distinct from the wooden console in the lounge room. And it didn't take long before the world was producing a whole lot of tabletop radios. By 1933, we start to see beautiful designs coming out of America. This is Harold Van Doren's Air Kings, architecturally designed style, which came in 11 wonderful colours. Very quickly thereafter, that was 33, 1934, you see Australia produces their own version of the same thing, which is our AWA radiolette, also called Empire State. And you can see how quickly the impact of the industrial designers' work flowed through to the rest of the world. And that was part of the theme of Art Deco, was that it was a global movement and it was represented and interpreted right around the world. By 1934, in England, you see Echo's Wells Coates, who was an architect and an industrial designer. He designed this first round radio, and that theme was taken right round the world. There are probably only 3 green ones in the world remaining, and they were probably the very few that were made.
Now, the interesting thing is that when we think of Bakelite and Bakelite radios, the mind goes to the brown ones, which were designed to look like furniture. But here we have an incredible array of wonderful colours.
Yes, and it's fascinating that coloured radios only existed in Australia and the US. No other country, Europe, UK, could sell to the public a coloured radio until after the war. During the Depression, when nobody could afford anything, the one thing that people wanted to buy was a radio. At the time, a wooden console radio could cost up to $130, and that was an expensive purchase. Plastic and mass production could allow a designer to create not only unusual design around a radio chassis, but in infinite colours and cheaply producing. So these radios were probably $10 or $15 compared to the wooden console.
Peter, you're all about bodies. So does it matter to you if the radio works or not?
Yes, I'd prefer it working, or at least the chassis complete. I think what I have here is a unique collection of radios that span from the moment the first Bakelite radio was made.
Antiques Down Under is here this afternoon at the Adelaide Historical Bottles Collectors Club, and Ian is going to tell us some history about bottles and bottle collecting.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, look, the club's celebrating its 50th year this year. It's our national. We've got a really good turnout, and collecting bottles is an historical, cultural type thing. There's plenty of collectibles out there, but there's only bottles and pot lids, and a lot of this stuff really is dug in Victorian dumps, aged dumps. You can go out now and you can buy gear, and some of the bottles here, Greg, are worth a lot of money.
I know when I bought a property at Mount Pleasant many years ago, outside the back of the old cottage were bottles piled high.
Correct.
Unbelievable. So people just threw them to one side, didn't they?
Well, they were worth nothing back then. They were just containers back in those days.
And if you had an old well to fill up...
That's exactly right. They just filled up and household rubbish.
Yep.
Now those rubbish dumps and household pits and whatever, even the old toilet pits, to be honest with you, it's a bit of a haven for bottles. And some of the bottles you can get out are, like I'm saying, are worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars.
Ian's going to take us on a walk through the hall and show us some very important historical South Australian bottles. Ian, let's have a look here.
Look, we've got a trading table here. We've got a Woody's bottle here from Adelaide, about 1920s. Some of them have got the actual date on the base of them, but this one hasn't.
Good old Woody's Woodruff.
Oh, Woody's Woodruff. I don't think you can get them anymore, but anyway, it was a popular drink, and it's on what are called O'Reilly bottle. So you've got an enclosure or a stopper like that, just screws in like that. So.
And this bottle's not that expensive.
No, $30.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For a collector just starting out, that's brilliant, isn't it?
Correct, absolutely. And there's a lot of bottles along here, Greg, that people can, or young people can get into the hobby. And that bottle there would date from around that 1870s, 1880s. Right. That's in dug condition. That's been dug, so the soil tends to take its toll on some of these bottles, whereas you get a nice shiny one like that one there, for $2,800. Okay, that's out of my price range.
It's mine too.
We'll put that one back.
Yeah, I think we will.
We've got a Pointy ender here, and that's a $300 bottle, and that's a Matthew W.S. Hawley and Sons Geelong. That's a Victorian bottle. Okay, and that once again, that's around that 1880s, and back in those days, they didn't have ring like the old pop crown seals. They would have had a cork which was tied with wire around the top.
Oh, right.
And that would have had lemonade in it, and the actual gas of the lemonade would have kept the tight enclosure. So you would have to undo the wire and then pop the bottle. Yep.
That's where pop the cork comes from.
That's exactly, well, crack the bottle. Here, Greg, we what we call a Black Horse, and that's a Black Horse beer bottle, and obviously Black Horse because of the Black Horse on it. Now that's got a registration diamond on it, and that dates from around that 1854-55, thereabouts, right? And that type of bottle, right, would be worth roughly anything between $500 to $1,000 now.
The black glass as well, you wouldn't be able to tell the colour or condition of the beer.
Well, that's right. You have a look at it. See, they call it black, but it's really a sort of a really dark green. We can move on down here to some New South Wales Sydney bottles. There we go. That's a Fowler, so it's impressed on the shoulder. Fowler would be around that 1830s there.
Fowler's is well-established Australian company, aren't they?
Absolutely, and they're still in business today.
Right. This one here.
That's what they call a Bellarmine. That would date from around that sort of late 1700s, that type of thing. It's called a bearded Bellarmine. Right. So it's a bearded thing with an encroachment there. and very, very desirable.
Well, that's it from Antiques Down Under at the Adelaide Historical Bottles Collectors Fair. I'm with David Cabani from Small and Whitfield and our What Is It reveal. David, what is it?
Greg, I'm glad you asked me. Well, I've been thinking about this for some time. Amazing construction of Australian oak, late 19th century. And it's really, you know, we've had a lot of guesses, haven't we, as to what this might be.
Sure have.
And it's pretty straightforward, right? It's a very late 19th century, early 20th century baby's rattle. There we go, and these were often attached to prams in the early days, and just to keep the
Baby happy, the pram jigging along the road.
It worked really well for me for years. And that's what it is, and it's just a bit of homemade, as they often were, quite, you know, bespoke made pieces with whatever was available at the time.
Well, there we are. Now we know what it is. Do you want to guess the mystery object? Head to our Facebook and Instagram pages to enter.
Next time on Antiques Down Under, Gregory visits the Darrenberg Cube, Chester Osborne's world of art and wine.
A military collector brings out the big guns. Then it's off to the Adelaide Town Hall, where Claudia catches up with the Lord Mayor.
And still at the Town Hall, Gregory catches up with Councillor Martin to discuss the art of Colonel William Light.
Not a bad way to end our program here at the Apothecary in Adelaide.
I'll drink to that. We hope you enjoyed our program and we look forward to seeing you next time.